Daria Rose, I'm sorry. She's a lawyer. She's also been all over social media breaking down Project 2025. I saw some of her videos and I said, look, we got to get her on the show. And I ran to her at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, AOC. And I was like, all right, let's do this. And so she joins us right now. First and foremost, glad to have you here. You've really been just walking people through Joe Madison, the late, great Joe Madison would always say, you got to put it where the goats can get it. And that's what you've been doing. So what inspired you to start these series of Project 2025 videos on TikTok and other platforms?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Roland. I'm excited to be on this platform. You've created such an audience and a place for Black people to come and get their news. And sometimes we don't really have that. And part of what inspired me, after I graduated from Yale in 2022, I went to work in a big law environment. And I was always on social media. And I noticed that my friends weren't talking about the election. They weren't talking about politics. But I knew that they cared about it. There just wasn't a big outlet for it. For things like Project 2025 and Chevron deference and all the Supreme Court decisions that continue to come out, people don't really know about them, and the news doesn't do a great job at talking about them. I know my friends don't really have cable, so I decided I wanted to make videos on TikTok, on Instagram, where we spend so much of our time, too much of our time sometimes. And yeah, it's just been really great to see the response, and I've built an amazing audience, and we can converse back and forth, and we talk about issues. And there's so many people every day who tell me, I didn't even know about this. I haven't heard about Project 2025.
And have you been surprised? Because first of all, when Taraji Henson mentioned it on the BET Awards, it actually just blew it up. But look, the average person ain't going to go through 921 pages.
No.
And so, one, how long did it take you to go through all of that? And two, what are 2 or 3 things that just jump out at you where you are reading going, these folks are nuts?
Well, I had heard about Project 2025 way before. People had been talking about it for months. And then when Taraji came out and said it, I was like, okay, it's go time. People are going to be looking this up. They're going to get discouraged when they see the 900 pages. It took me about a few weeks, of learning it and talking to my friends about it, and then to sit down and really go through what are the most important things. I say the 3 things that really jumped out to me. 1, the issue on abortion. They want to completely get rid of abortion access. They also mentioned this thing called the Comstock Act that a lot of people don't know about, but it's a law that basically made the shipping of birth control pills illegal. So we're talking about not just abortion, but now we're talking about birth control. So it's just running the gamut.
And remember, it was Justice Clarence Thomas who made that point in the Dobbs decision where, contraception. And so folks were saying, hey, y'all, they ain't stopping at abortion.
No, they're not. They're trying to expand it. The second thing that was absolutely crazy to me is dismantling the Department of Education. The Department of Education has been around over 50 years, and before that, we've always had some form of regulation for our education system. I think this is their move to the Christian nationalist thing. They believe that professors and institutions are radicalizing children. They don't believe in DEI. They're believing in banning books. So getting rid of the Department of Education is one huge step in that. I think the third and most concerning one is their plan for Schedule F, and that's to reclassify a bunch of federal employees and make them at will, essentially being able to fire them. They'd be able to fire the scientists at NASA from the people who work on the Food and Drug Administration and the FDA, and replace them with DJT loyalists who will do his bidding. So those were the 3 huge ones. There's so much other stuff in there. They want to get rid of porn, make it illegal for anyone distributing it. They want to... There's a lot in there.
First of all, which is hilarious because the CEO of Grindr said the Republican National Convention is literally the Super Bowl for Grindr for people who are on their app.
Yes, I heard that too, and I heard they had to get rid of traffic during it. So it's
I remember I was in Tampa in 2012, and the strip club owner said, "Oh, we prefer Republican National Convention over the Democrat National Convention because we make tons of money at the Republican National Convention." But yeah, these sanctimonious folks and all of their religious talk, we know, which is also fraudulent. But one of the things that we talked about at the top of the show is the Department of Justice and how they want to weaponize it. And the point that you also made that folks don't really understand, Project 2025, they want loyalty oaths from all federal workers. And normally there are appointed positions the administration has. No, they want to gut the federal government of the deep state, all these bureaucrats, and they want to say, you must pledge fealty to the MAGA agenda. And we all know that African Americans over-index in government jobs.
Exactly. They've created this whole conservative LinkedIn platform. So on the first day, if he was to get elected and be in office, he would have 10,000 workers ready at his disposal who have taken this sort of oath, like you say, to be loyal to him. The first time around in 2016, he didn't have this because they didn't think he was going to win. A lot of conservatives didn't take him seriously. So this time around, he has the plan, he has the playbook, he's ready to go. As far as the DOJ and what he wants to do there's so many things. I mean, Donald Trump has said at his rallies multiple times he wants to give officers complete federal immunity from prosecution. And we've seen, police brutality in these most recent months with Sonia Massey's killing. We've seen it with George Floyd, which they're still trying to pass the George Floyd Policing Act. We could forget about that if he's elected. The second huge major part of his plan with the DOJ is weaponizing them to do mass deportations. They want to round up 30 million people. Some of them they want to put in camps. Some of them they want to send back to their home countries. That's not what the Justice Department is supposed to be used for. And the third one is he wants to dismantle the FBI. And a lot of people don't know the FBI is mainly responsible for investigating cases that deal with race-based discrimination, assault cases, any cases where it's anything really related to police brutality. The FBI really takes a big hand in that. And he wants to get rid of that. So all three prongs of those are very, very concerning, especially for Black and brown communities that are already over-policed and over-indexed.
Well, again, going through this is critically important because, as you said, folk don't actually read it. That's why yesterday when I broke down how in 60 years, there have been 3 executions on the federal level, but prior to Trump, there were 3, none under Obama and Biden. Trump executed 13 people in 6 months. This man is sadistic. He is crazy. So it's about 2.5 minutes before the vice president speaks. So quickly to the panel. So first, Michael, your question for Daria, quick.
Daria, thanks for coming on.
Man, ask your question.
I'm asking.
I said quick, damn it.
I'm asking the question.
I don't need all that. Thank you for coming on. Good to see you. Get to your question.
Comstock Act, 1873. Connect the Comstock Act to the banning nationwide of contraceptives as well as pornography, because all that is connected, dealing with abortion as well. Connect those together, please. Stop rushing, Roland.
Hell no! I want Daria to be able to answer, but we also want to cover the vice president's speech. Now, damn it, ask a quick question. Daria, go ahead and answer. Yes, go ahead.
I'll answer this in the short way.
No, you're fine. You're fine, but go ahead.
All of these are really related to the privacy laws that we see, and really about how much you want the government to be in your bedroom and in your home. And over the years, that has shifted, both as we've seen with contraceptives, as we've seen with related to abortion. By the way, abortion is healthcare, talking about reproductive health and justice, again, disproportionately affecting Black and brown women in this country. And then we've seen with gay marriage. So all 3 of those are intertwined when we think about the right to privacy. And the Comstock Act was something that they thought of when the government was way more involved in that, when we were way more connected to like this Christian nationalism idea. And the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, want to revert to this. Clarence Thomas also talked about it in the Dobbs decision, which is the decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. They want to repeal many of these efforts. So it's going to make it a lot harder to get access to contraceptives, to get access to abortion care and reproductive health care.
Jolanda.
Thanks.
My very simple question: what is the scariest consequence that Black men need to be afraid of related to criminal justice with Project 2025?
Honestly, I would say DJT himself has shown that he is way supportive of police officers, more so than anyone I've seen before, in terms of trying to give them a full immunity. The reason why we have body cameras is because of the efforts of many Democratic politicians throughout the years that said, we need to get this stuff on camera. We have to see it. We have to believe it. The instances like George Floyd being recorded, the instances of Sonia Massey, we even have, this wasn't a police case, but Ahmaud Arbery. We've seen so many time and time again, prosecutors reluctant to persecute these police officers for their killings. And it's not until the public gets involved in this. DJT wants to eliminate that completely, which would make police officers way more emboldened. We're talking about stop and frisk on a different level that we've never seen. We're talking about illegal searches in your car. Just so many things that would embolden them to act in ways where they know that they're not going to have to answer to anyone. They're not going to have to be held accountable. So black and brown men should be, yes.
With complete immunity, effectively, they could kill us. It can all be recorded, and it doesn't matter because complete immunity means complete immunity. Would you agree with that?
Complete immunity means complete immunity, period. It's a full stop. They cannot be prosecuted for it at any time. It doesn't matter how much rallying goes on. It doesn't matter how much protesting. That's it. And that's not to mention also the settlements that some of these families get that put them in positions to say, not just the police officers, but the city. The city has a duty to answer. That would eliminate everyone's accountability and liability for these terrible murders and killings. And it would just over-police a state that's already policed. So, black and brown men obviously are the main ones incarcerated in terms of ratio and disproportionately represented in the mass incarceration system. So there's a lot to be scared about. It really is.
Robert, your question, let me give you all an update. So the vice president was supposed to speak at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. They've now pushed it back to 8 p.m. Eastern, but still be quick with your damn question. Robert, go.
Will do. I think many people don't understand that the part of Project 2025 that talks about the deportation of upwards of 20 million people who are here undocumented, according to the document. Can you talk about what that would actually mean to communities when you have to send in ostensibly stormtroopers to drag families out of their houses, put them on trucks, put them into concentration camps while you sort them out, and then basically taking 10% of the country and pushing them out? Can you talk about what the effects of that will be?
Definitely. I don't know if you've ever seen Handmaid's Tale with Margaret Atwood, but it would be similar to that. It would involve these troopers in massive gear coming into communities, coming into people's homes where they have children and terrorizing them essentially and ripping them apart. There's a lot of undocumented immigrants and undocumented families that sometimes they're married to a citizen. Under this, they wouldn't care. They would come in, they would rip those families apart. There's a part where they said they would put them in camps. These sound like internment camps that we had back in the days of like World War II and the Japanese, which we've since apologized for. So it would unleash a whole level of brutality like we've never seen before. The effects on the mental health of the citizens watching this, not just the undocumented citizens, but the people who they have their neighbor, they saw their neighbor just being dragged out of their home. It would be really, really terrible and unfortunate for everyone involved. So there's really no words for it. We've never seen anything like it. It would be a mass rounding up of 30 million people in a lot of cases who are vital to our economy, who work alongside us, who live alongside us, who eat alongside us.
And Daria, the thing that people really need to understand, first of all, anytime the Trump people say, oh, we disavow this, they're lying. They're lying. A bunch of Trump officials wrote it. They are in lockstep. We already know, which you know well, he followed everything the Federalist Society wanted to do in naming Supreme Court justices. And so all he's going to say is, okay, here you go, Heritage Foundation. Y'all do what the hell y'all want. I'm just here for the pomp and circumstance. So people need to understand, this is a working document. This is real. This is literally the hardcore right-wing blueprint master plan for completely decimating the federal government. That is their absolute goal. This is not a theoretical exercise.
No.
Or a hypothetical exercise. It is real.
It's very real. It's very real. And they want to dismantle the administrative state, which they've already started doing with the decision that came down in June, which is Chevron deference. So they completely gutted Chevron, which was part of the administrative state, which gave deference to these agencies like the EPA, like NOAA, like the FDA, who they have experts who are allowed to make decisions on very vital aspects of the day-to-day lives of average Americans. And they said, no, we're taking that power back and we're putting it into our hands. Putting DJT back in office, again, would allow the power to be back in his hands because he would eliminate large sections of the administrative state that kind of act as insular barriers to keep him from doing this. And people really don't understand that because they never had to interact with it before. But if he comes into office and he works with the Heritage Foundation, who, by the way, some of them I went to school with, they're not dummies. They know what they're doing. They've read the Constitution. They understand the things that are in there, and they can implement them in ways that are legal.
Absolutely, absolutely. Daria Rose, we appreciate it. We're going to have you back. So just let us know when, because, and then what we do is, just like I've been doing, like taking these segments, driving them on social, because, I mean, look, you're approaching 200,000 followers on TikTok, about 25,000 on Instagram. That's important because the data shows that folks 18 to 35, more than 50% are getting their information from TikTok and Instagram. So if we're not feeding real information into those platforms, then folks are seeing a bunch of misinformation, a bunch of lies, a bunch of BS. And so you got to have folks who are breaking this stuff down in bite-sized ways for people to understand.
Exactly. Keep it simple, keep it accessible, and that's the way we're going to keep the public informed.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. We'll have you back. Thank you so very much.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.